Scott Anschuetz, you are the CEO and founder at Visualize Inc., a professional training and coaching company, and you've got over 30 years experience in sales and sales leadership, building profitable companies.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
been
thank
looking
you.
forward to this for a while. We've had it arranged in the diary for a while. So thank you so much for joining me on Decoding Calm in 15 minutes, Scott. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. So when I was doing my research, Scott, I was doing a little bit of digging, watching you online. And do you know, one of the first things that kind of struck me was you do seem very calm. So my first question to you is that what's going on underneath the surface? Would you describe yourself as a calm person or not particularly?
I would say typically not particularly, although I've evolved that kind of like a fine wine. You start to
Okay.
age and you start to mellow out. And so there are some things that over the last, you know, maybe decade I've implemented to help kind of with that calming nature. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's get
Yeah.
right into this thing because the whole point of this podcast is to understand how people like you do the jobs that you do, right? CEO and founder, very successful company. You've been doing this a long time. How do you handle the pressure? How do you handle the stress? How do you still sleep? How do you still function? How do you keep a lid on all this stuff? This is what I really kind of want to get into in the next few minutes.
For
So,
sure.
do you want to just touch roughly on that? You said you kind of said the last 10 years. So, did
Yeah.
something change? What tips could you give
Oh,
us?
yeah. So like most, I probably will get the timing wrong. Let's call it. So you've been doing this for 23 years, maybe 15, 12. I hit a wall. Um,
Okay.
I think you could over exaggerate and say, I had a breakdown, but that really wasn't it. It was just functionally, I was struggling because the stress level had become so high. I
Yeah.
remember a moment playing tic tac with my kids at a restaurant who were like, whatever, 8 and 10, and I was struggling to even do tic tac, and I had to kind of step away.
Oh, wow.
And it was really this cycle where I had worked so hard and was struggling to quiet the mind at night. So it was inhibiting my stress level, or I had a stress level through the roof. And so, I was working out, getting limited sleep, and just everything started to grind to a halt. And it affected all kinds of things, both physically and emotionally. And did a whole bunch of blood work and found out that I was screwing with that too. So yeah, and when you have that moment of truth, you kind of have to reassess and reevaluate, how are you going to change what got you here. And so I made some fundamental changes to kind of flick the switch back a different way.
Okay. In a few sentences, what were those changes? We're getting right into it quickly. This is great.
Yeah, for sure. So always believe that someone should work both physically, so work out.
Yeah.
Exercise is important, helps balance the hormones, the brain gets the endorphins going. Then also work on, how you quiet the mind, guided prayer, meditation, those types of things. And what I had recognized is because of the stress of the business and making sure that I could feed my partners and make sure the plates, keeping all the cleaning plates going, that I was getting away from not quieting the mind and not finding ways to reduce the mind chatter, which stressed me out and was affecting the sleep cycle. And I wish we had, I don't have it on right now, it's charging, but the Aura Ring, because I think that would have given me insights much earlier in the cycle to recognize that I needed to fix that element. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I was very skeptical before I started meditating, Scott, I was the biggest skeptic you could find. I won't use the inappropriate words. I answered the person when they said to me, "Hey, have you tried meditation?" when I was stressed, but I did tell them where they could put their books and their apps and their phone. What was your reaction to it then? So you're sleeping badly, your stress levels through the roof. You got this incredibly stressful job. You got that moment in that restaurant, and you think,
Yeah.
"I've got to look after my body and my mind." And you mentioned meditation as something to do. Were you open to that, or were you?
I was because I had tried it many, 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 many years
Oh,
earlier,
okay.
and kind of it was some book, 8 minutes to mindful meditation, and so 8 minutes. We were like, well, you can do anything for 8 minutes. So I kind of learned a few of the ideas, but then I had gotten away from it, and um, and so when the stress kicked in and it affected again all kinds of levels, I went and saw someone. We did some blood testing, and I'm like, holy cow, these things have now become incredibly deficient, and we need to fix those. And once we fixed them, the light switch, and then I went back to those practices. And so working out became easier. I was always consistent, but more importantly, spending the minutes just working to quiet the mind. And I've now transitioned to, I call it kind of guided prayer. I actually spend time doing that. And I believe that's a form of meditation. And you're grateful for what you have. And then you quiet the mind and, you know, answers come to you, insights come to you if
Yeah.
your mind's not flowing and running
Yeah. Perfect.
100 miles an hour. So yeah,
Yeah. And you and I were chatting about the NBA just before we came on air here. And athletes would describe that state, I think, as flow, wouldn't they? And you can see it. I think probably the most famous, if we keep with the NBA, I think probably the most famous flow state I've seen somebody in was watching Michael Jordan play in the finals. I forget who the Bulls were playing. And there's a moment where he looks over at the subs, at the commentators on half court, and he just kind of shrugs. He's walking back and he just shrugs as if to say, I don't even really know what's happening here. The hoop's like 15 feet wide. I can't miss here. And he was
yeah,
in a perfect flow state, wasn't he?
yes.
And I think so many people miss this. They think that just they've got to keep working. They've got to keep the answers are all up in the mind. They've got to keep powering through. But to step away, to quiet the mind, that allows so much wisdom to come through. That's where the real true creation and innovation is. Do you think so?
Oh, 100%. I've heard this adage like the mind is this reticulating active system and it's capturing it's recording everything on a subconscious level. And when you quiet the mind, answers can come to you from levels that would not otherwise come from you. I also
Yeah.
believe that answers can come to you from a higher place as well. And that's when you're in flow because there is this energy, this universal energy that you tap into when it's not you.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you are the conduit, but that's it. You're the conduit, and you need to be open to getting the answers and the insights. That's why I'm a huge believer. The name of my company is Visualize. Like I'm a big believer in visualizing the end game and seeing it through to fruition, but being aware of insights, nudges, heartstring pulls, conversations that you wouldn't otherwise hear because you're in flow, and so answers are coming to you. In the world of sales, you need a lot of that
Yeah.
in guiding people. So yeah,
Perfect. What would you say is the toughest? I'll let you interpret this question however you want, Scott. What would you say was the highest stakes situation you've ever been in, and how did you get through it?
yeah. There's been a few. I would actually back up before I started Visualize, and that was, when earlier in my career when I was a quota carrying salesperson, and preceding an exceptionally large deal that someone tagged me in. They had pulled the requisition for the sales engineer that they were going to have work with me, which meant that I was the writing was on the wall. They didn't think I was going to convert. And so now you're in this scenario where, you got to close the deal. The deal's in jeopardy because the other rep left. And so how do I make sure that this does not fail? Because if it's failed, then it's the final nail in the coffin and game over. And so how do you ensure that you show up and you're well prepared and planned and well rested and you've got the endorphins going because you did all the right things? And that was a high stakes thing because I knew it was make or break. And that really, once we succeeded, which we did, close the largest deal in the company's history at that time, it changed the trajectory of the course of my career and validated a lot of the things that I already knew I was doing and that was capable of, but it was the third party validation that needed to happen, you know? So, and interestingly enough, kind of maybe during that campaign, we had to go do a site visit, reference call. And the first one that we went to didn't go well. So again, now the deals, we're trying to trend the deal. We're out doing a site visit. And kind of got goosebumps thinking of this in this conversation. We were in a cab, dating how old or long ago this was. We were in a cab, and the cab driver said something somewhat innocuous, but he looked in the rearview mirror, and there was three of us across the back, and I could tell he was looking at me. And his message was, don't worry, we're on the right track. And contextually, it didn't fit with the conversations that were going on, but it was almost like someone was speaking to him and through him to me that, hey, don't hit the panic button. We're on track. The next two are going to turn out okay. And I don't know how else to explain it. I think that was, again, the universe working through the necessary channels to give me answers to stay the course, stay calm. Everything's going to be okay, and you'll get the answers you need. So anyway, yeah.
You know what? As a massive, I'm smiling, Scott, because as a massive, I say former skeptic. I mean, there's still a part of me that probably forever be skeptical
Sure.
about all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff, right? And I think I always encourage people to have skepticism around this, right? It's not about
Oh,
believing
yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But I'm smiling because yeah, I was thinking recently about how much kind of good luck, if you want to call it good luck, or nice
Yeah.
coincidence I've had since I've started doing this job of teaching stress reduction to corporates and to execs. And there's been tough times, of course. Starting a business is really hard,
Yeah.
but it's almost like every time I got close to thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. Almost literally the next day I'd get an email saying, "Hey, can you come and do this for
Yes.
us? Can you do this?" And you just get these funny little moments and say, "Do you know what? Maybe I need to get out of my own way sometimes. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know everything. Maybe I can't explain everything. And maybe I just need to be." For me personally, I think it took me kind of 40 something years to really get out my own way and say,
Yeah.
maybe I just need to be open to other things, other potential things.
Yeah. No, I love that you said that. You know, um, it's, people call it coincidences, serendipity.
Yeah.
And I don't, now that I am where I am, I'm a little senior in years and I've had in multiple of these experiences. That's not what it is. It is absolutely 100% the universe guiding you in a direction that you've put out is where you want to be and you're on the right path. And when you're quiet, the mind is quiet, these conversations happen. These emails that you just talk about show up. The cab driver who, indirectly was kind of like an angel trying to speak to, hey, the scenario that was happening, we're on track. It's just, that's just kind of the way
Mm.
of the world. And I think most successful people would say, sometimes they'd say they were lucky, but they will say that they were lucky because they had events that happened, but they're also taking the necessary actions and they're receptive to those moments in time where those things come up and the validation that you're
Yeah,
on the right track. 100%. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're burning through this time, but let me ask you, I've got a quote from Kobe Bryant, seeing as we're talking about the NBA earlier. He famously said, "Great things come from hard work and perseverance, no excuses." What would you say, Scott, has been at the heart of the great things in your life?
Um, well, let's clarify the question. I also exaggerate it and say, you get rewarded in public for the things that you do consistently in private, and that's the hard work. That's getting up, putting in the reps, that's doing the workout, et cetera. So,
Yeah.
um, clarify your question for me because that's immediately what I was thinking of as you were describing that individual and hard work. So, one more
Yeah,
time.
I guess Kobe Bryant's very famous for being somebody who put incredible hours into his craft.
Yeah,
And if I contradict that with everything you see on social media now, or a lot of what you see on social media, yeah, I can see you kind of,
talking about creative.
people make it look so easy. This, you just snap your fingers and you've created this incredible company and you're turning over six figures and you're doing this and you're doing that. And I think it gives a very false sense to some young people who think, that if they do anything other than make 100 grand in profit in year one, they're massively failing. So I want to hear from senior people like you to just kind of redress the balance and say, "Do you know what? There's a lot of hard work goes into this. You
Yeah.
don't, it's very normal to struggle in your early days and to have to fight for this and to just kind of, I think social media is fantastic in some ways, but it comes with so many um potential pitfalls for young people. It gives them
Yeah.
false ideas and false illusions. And
Yeah. Instant gratification,
yeah,
oversimplification, and I, I I I don't disagree. Um, again, there are those individuals that you can see who had lightning strike in a bottle and they went from nothing and became some massive influencer in 6 months and they're getting the promos. That's such the exception.
mm,
It's not the reality. And the reality is decide where you want to go, set your goal, whatever it is, a year or 3 or 5 out, and work consistently towards it. Get up and put in the reps that put you closer and closer to that goal. And yeah, there's going to be places where you get knocked down. It's those that pick themselves up and dust off their knees and keep right on going. And you will achieve success. And don't let the little gremlin that exists in our head that talks to us succeed. Just keep flicking it off your shoulder and just keep pointing forward and quieting the mind, because that gremlin is part of the problem. When you quiet the mind, then you'll hear and see and have actions and events that validate you're on the right track, that you're in flow, that you're not working against the ultimate outcome. And that just keep pursuing it day by day, step by step.
that's a great answer. I love how much you've used the term quieting the mind in this podcast because there was a huge irony when I was bringing mindfulness into IBM in their head office in London. They had the word think in massive letters as soon as you walked in the exec briefing room. And I used to kind of smile because I was teaching people not to think. But I was teaching people, and the sentence doesn't end there, right? I wasn't just saying switch your mind off and leave it off. I was saying, hey, we're probably overthinking here. And if we can calm the mind, to use your turn of phrase, the thoughts that then come through are going to be the ones we want. They're going to be the ones that are empowering, creative, and innovative, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah,
totally
totally.
agree.
Yeah. And
Okay, Scott, we're
so
almost out of time. We're going to whiz through these quick fire questions really quickly. Are you a
all right, I'm ready.
morning or evening person?
I'm now a morning person.
Emails or phone calls?
Emails,
Dogs, cats, or neither?
dogs,
Guilty pleasure.
a good bourbon.
Nice. Favorite book?
Oh man. Um,
How
I'd
about your
say
favorite book on sales? What's the best book you've ever read on sales?
I got to be careful how I answer that. So I'm going to steer
Okay.
clear of that and just say, I think my favorite book, I've read a lot of them from Anthony Robbins. And what I learned from that is how to manage how you talk to yourself, the pain and pleasure principle, and managing that dialogue. So I'll go there.
Tony Robbins. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you could invite anyone over for dinner, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh man. I don't want to over concern people, but I would say I'd love to have a conversation with Jesus Christ and validate some of the things that we've read in the good book and have an opportunity to have that conversation. And if that's not possible, then I'd go to one of the others, Moses, Abraham, etc. I just think it would be an amazing dialogue that would open up so many insights and reaffirm so many things for individuals. So
You
yeah.
need you need to invite Mark because that was his answer too.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Great. Another reason why I really enjoy and appreciate Mark. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Scott, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time as well. And keep up on the journey because I love what you're doing. And I believe it, as you know, you're in flow. It's going to make a difference in the lives of many. And
Thanks
that's
a
how you
lot.
reward yourself and others. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot. I will. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Take care. All right.
Thank you.
Peace.
You too.
All right. You too. Bye.